The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply. USAA.
Recording? F*** you bored? I hit record. Kiss my ass. All right, here we go. In 3, 2...
News team, assemble!
It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from SoonerScoop.com. Now, here's the entire SoonerScoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and
George.
Welcome back. It is the Unofficial 40 podcast right here on SoonerScoop.com, where we are celebrating a Eddie-less week in the offices. It has been a joy. George is still very respectful in a lot of ways of Eddie. He will not park in his parking space, which is really weird.
That's mostly just because I forgot every day I pulled in. It's not out of respect for Eddie at all. It's just I forgot that he's not here, so I park in the same spot Thursday, every day, so I just forget.
Yeah. Routine.
Yes.
Routines are important.
Same with the lights. He keeps all the lights off, and I just forget to.
Yeah, I walked in there today. I said, it's okay to turn the light.
Yeah.
Eddie does not like lights on anywhere. Like, he just wants to sit half in the dark.
It's because he's like half dead half the time during the week.
I think we all are. All of us morning radio guys are. Anyway, welcome back. It is the Unofficial 40 podcast. A little bit of news this week. Nothing to talk about, is there? We had some big news yesterday. And by the way, Josh, you know what today is? You probably saw my timeline.
No, what have I missed?
Today is the 2-year anniversary of us leaving Rivals and joining On3.
Oh, yes. Yeah, okay. You and we talked about it amongst the three of us, but I was like, is there something else I've missed? Okay. Yeah, that's crazy, guys. Like that night feels like yesterday. This has happened really fast.
It seems like yesterday you were just walking through the lobby and we took a picture of you and you realized your ankles were fat and then we saved your life.
Oh, that really has changed. And we can get into the ad read later for Cody, but
so Cody's keeping your ankles thin, basically.
Yes. Cody Drug is definitely helping me out, no doubt about it.
But no, it's a monumental thing. It was a huge decision when we did it, and it's. By the way, we made the right choice after yesterday's events. So. Look, we can't thank you guys enough, all our listeners, but everybody that subscribed. We built this thing back up to where it was when we left Rivals and even bigger. And On3's just been a great partner. Shannon Terry. We've had some talks with him recently over all the stuff that's going on that we're going to talk about here in just a second. But no, it's been, outside of just a tremendous amount of work and a tremendous amount of cable runs and a hiring of George Stoya. Leaving Rivals and joining On3 was what allowed us to really reach out to George and say, hey, we can offer you a real job if you want it. And no, it's been great having you. I got to say, I don't get like this very much, but, just it's been awesome having you at SoonerScoop talking to George, not you, Josh. But
he's literally never said that once to me ever.
Dominating, dominating the transfer portal market. I mean, your sources are fantastic. Love having you in the office every day. You care about what we do. You care about SoonerScoop. I couldn't ask for anything else from somebody than what you've been giving us the last couple of years.
Well, I appreciate that. It's been a blast working here, and
we like your dad too.
Yeah, my dad is great. He's excited about all of the future happenings at SoonerScoop and everything going on. It's funny because when you first reach out, like I didn't know much, if anything, about On3, and now I feel like it's really become in the last couple of years, really since we joined, and not saying that we're part of it, but it's become such a national brand in college football. When you think about what's happening with NIL and recruiting and everything that's going on, it's On3, and I think it's a credit to Shannon, and obviously they went out and got some major fan sites and stuff like that, but it's been fun. And I think what makes Sooner Scoop fun is the people. We all get along. We have a very good culture, I would say, a very good locker room at Sooner Scoop right now.
Well, it's interesting because, Shannon's kept it kind of small. Like, you got SEC is bountiful on On3. You haven't had a lot of Big 12. That's going to change here very soon. In fact, almost overnight. But, Josh, this. I mean, and it goes back to when, we were making the decision to leave Rivals. Like, a network is only as good as its publishers. And, I mean, there's a lot of strength in having quality publishers. And to be honest, I probably haven't reached out as much as I should because we've just been so busy building this thing, this next level of Sooner Scoop that we've been building. And, I think that was one of the determining factors why we left Rivals, because so many publishers had, that we knew either retired or just left, and it just didn't seem like the same places when we started. So it's going to be really interesting now going into this next phase where it was announced yesterday On3 has acquired Rivals. And Rivals was a labor of love. I mean, when we spent 18 years there, Josh, you and I together, we both, you started off there. I came in after a little side deal that I did coming right out of school and, building networks for a Tulsa publishing company. But, Jeremy Crabtree was there running things. And then you and I eventually took over, thanks to, the leadership that allowed us to finally own Sooner Scoop. And I mean, it's going to be exciting, and I'll talk about the ramifications of all this here in a little bit, but want you to give you the floor, Josh, because this is obviously a pretty big milestone for the company.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, like, just to see, again, I think that is such a sign of the growth of On3, because, guys, Carey, you touched on the publishers and stuff, and so much of what made me personally, when we would talk about what we wanted to do, Carey, was knowing a lot of these guys, knowing, Gene at Florida State, like knowing a lot of these publishers, knowing like these guys produce good content, they're reputable sources. Like, it wasn't, I don't see any joy in, going, beating up on Rivals or anything like that. It wasn't the company especially me, that I grew up in, like, that was forward thinking and all these things. And now, like, to see On3 doing something like this, I think it says a lot where, like George was saying, kind of where that brand is. Like, it's not, I don't think it's that surprising to most people that, like, oh yeah, On3 bought Rivals because On3 is kind of going in the right direction and that sort of thing. So I love it. I think it can add a lot to what the future can be. And I know people are confused and want answers and all those things, but I do. Shannon Terry he's a guy that has a vision. Like, whatever else you want to talk about, he has an idea of what he wants to do, and he's a smart guy. Like, I know he has a plan for what this all looks like, even if I fully admit at this point it's bigger than my brain can comprehend.
And Eddie said it last night over DM.
I can't believe he actually took time out to DM him.
I think
he's crazy.
As much as he's, I think enjoying himself in Mexico with a lot of alcohol, I do think he is kind of missing this a little bit. But
yeah, it's a huge deal. I mean,
But he said it last night though. He said that, like, Shannon Terry has, like, changed the internet. When you think about, like, recruiting in college football, the creation of Rivals, however many years ago that was, like, totally changed the landscape of how people cover the teams, how even colleges recruit players, how they're ranked, how high school recruiting is viewed. Like, it's insane to think how much of an input Shannon and really Rivals has had on everything that we kind of do at our company.
I still remember, Josh, back in 1998. I don't know, how old would you have been in 98?
So good, so good, so good.
Great gifts for mom? We've got them. And they're up to 60% off at Nordstrom Rack stores now.
You know they have Marc Jacobs?
Gotta show mom some love.
That is so good.
Snag amazing deals on Mother's Day gifts from Barefoot Dreams, Kate Spade New York, and more. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
I've been like 16, turning 17.
So, I mean, you were clearly, like I was growing up as a kid, like you were fascinated with recruiting. Like I go back to the days of, I remember coming up to Oklahoma City from Duncan with my parents, and they'd go to Sam's Club. And the first thing I would do was race to I've told the story a million times probably, race to the magazine rack to see Street and Smith's annual college football issue. And I'd open up to the very back where they had the All-Americans. And I remember seeing Cale Gundy, as a first-team All-American in high school. Like, just that was recruiting back then. And then 900 numbers and all that stuff that you could call. But, like, when Rivals came along, to see a database where players had committed to this school or that school, like nothing like that had ever existed before. And I think on OU, like their first, was it Michael Thompson was maybe the first commitment that year, or is Jason White? I think it might have been one of those two. I'm probably missing somebody, but I remember the list of names were like 2 for Oklahoma, and I just remember going there and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And immediately I copied that and started building that for another company. But it was the old National Recruiting Advisor team of Jeremy Crabtree and Bobby Burton. Back then you had Super Prep with Alan Wallace and Prep Star. So you had these, I don't know, like niche. It's almost like it's sad. It's a bad analogy, but like, it was kind of porn. It was pornish. It was what do they call that? Fetish. It was fetishy. Being a recruiting guy. I won't go through the whole thing again, but I've told that story a million times of me making on my dad's yellow legal pad, making out rankings from like the 96 class or something. I was like 14 or 15, and like had like what LeVar Arrington was ranked in Prep Star, what he was ranked in Super Prep, like, and then like averaged out all the ranks. I've said it over and over. I had the composite before the composite was a thing. Like, I didn't know that's what I was doing, but that's exactly what I was doing. And like the composite happened and it never occurred to me. And I was telling the story to somebody and they're like, you just did the composite. And I was like, shit, I did. Like it never occurred to me in real time. Like somebody had to tell me that that's something that had happened. But yeah. So I don't even respect myself in real time. But, it started out with that, and it was guys, covering recruiting and calling recruits, and you didn't even have camps and stuff back then. I mean, you're just going, I don't even know if it occurred to people to, like, go to a spring football practice. Like, it was just based on what they did in high school. And, that was back in the days when you had actual videotape. I still remember having videotape of Sam Bradford, and digitizing it and putting it into my computer at home, and
I can remember sending you stuff, Carey, and being like, "Hey, we gotta do this with this tape." And I, again, as no surprise to anyone, you knew how to do it, and I was like, "Just take the tape. I don't know what to do with it, but you can do something with it."
What was the really fast Aaron Ivey? Was that the really fast wide receiver from Putnam City?
The little receiver from. Let's see. Because I grew up playing sports against his brother, and his brother, I think, was Adam, and I'm pretty sure Aaron was the guy that played in kind of Eddie's era.
I know I have a tape sitting around my house somewhere that just says Aaron Ivey on it. Which if I die and the police come, they're going to be like, "There's a guy's got child porn."
I remember... the one I really remember when it comes to like VHS tape is literally driving to Ardmore High School and getting Jermaine Gresham's tape. Like, and they didn't really know how to do it. So like, here's our stuff. Just take your own tape. Like, I had to go to Walmart and buy like a VHS, and then like I'm copying their stuff onto a VHS so we could have it for rival stuff.
And you're like, Krabby, am I going to get paid back for this?
Oh, I was and I was like, you won't believe this, kid. I mean, I still nerd out. Like I was talking to Tiffany about this like last night as we're talking about all that's going on. I mean, I love my job. Like I legitimately enjoy what I do, and it's never lost on me how lucky I am that this is the stupid shit that I get to do for a career.
It's very rare in this industry too to like enjoy this much, and especially and also not like always worry about your job security as a young journalist or a young reporter. Like that was a constant worry, and
especially in the newspaper business.
Yeah. And it's rare. And it's rare that you get to work, with a group of people that it's just fun to work with.
Well, there's nothing like, losing your first job when you've done a good job. I mean, I was telling you the story today, and we were talking about the database. Like, I went in and built a publishing company, an entire internet site, database, all that, and I was a hired gun. They brought me in. They sold it for millions of dollars to Scout or the insiders, whoever they were, and then I lost my job because I did all that, because I did a good job, and you're like, wow, this industry is crazy.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's been incredible to watch the legitimization of this industry by most people. There's still some bad apples out there. But, to see, I was the one that went through fighting for credentials for websites because I was forced to, the reason that I have a radio show is because I was forced into doing radio so I could get a credential. And 18 years later, I'm still a sports animal. So, and I did 4 years before that at a smaller station. So, I always had to have radio to be able to get into games, and now you see all these websites, and some of them are not even really legitimate, I would say, compared to what we were trying to be back in the early 2000s. But to get to now where On3 and SoonerScoop are, leading news sources that are breaking the news that the newspaper or the television used to do, it's come a long way. So really proud of the team that we have put together, and the job that we're doing, and we're trying to do better. I mean, you guys know I've been kind of on a warpath lately to make us better, especially just as an editorial team. So that's what we're doing, and that kind of goes into the news yesterday on On3 acquiring Rivals. There's nothing that's going to change about SoonerScoop. We're not merging. This isn't a merger. This is an acquisition. It's not a deal where, we're going to be forced to work with these guys from somewhere else. That's not happening. So, is it going to be seamless? Probably not. Is it going to be confusing? Maybe. People. I'll say this: people have contracts, and there's another site now that On3 owns that covers Oklahoma. What happens to that is still to be determined. And the longevity of that, nobody knows. Not even Shannon, not me, not them. But we're going to be business as usual. So everything else, I'm just going to keep behind the scenes because to me, business is business. We love sharing as much as we can with you guys. But the one thing for me is this is not an emotional thing. It's a business deal. And whatever works going forward that's good for business, good for us, is what we're going to do. And Josh, you can add to it if you want, but that's where I am.
No, I think that's pretty fair. I just want our members or, people that have thought about signing up or, I know a lot of people, will come during the football season or whatever that may be. Nothing changes. I know, they've read some things that will, the recruiting will be at Rivals.
Yeah, you're not going to Rivals. You're going to be on SoonerScoop doing what you've always done. And we're even going to add to it. I mean, we have plans to add another full-time recruiting staffer. We've been working through that. And it's, it's not anybody that's, being acquired by On3.
Yes.
We're looking to go out and bring in our own guy and our own people for social and our own people for production. I mean, the studios are not going to stop being built. I've got a design meeting on Monday to go over the final steps of that. So, we're going to keep building. Which has me
a lot more worried than the future of SoonerScoop at the moment.
Your paycheck will still clear, I promise. Everybody's paycheck's clear before I buy stuff. I've proven myself there. So, I think...
That's a fact.
Yeah, but I mean, we're full speed ahead as SoonerScoop.com, as you've always known us, as we've always been, just better. I mean, we want to get better. We talk about it all the time. We're growing because you guys are subscribing, because on the On3 platform, we're generating so much more revenue than we used to at Rivals that we can expand. We can spend $1 million on broadcast studios. We can hire more people at the top pay range that we want to have in here that love working here and that do a good job. So we're only taking the best of the best. And that Josh and I are the worst employees in this company because we started out and we make sure everybody that we hire is better than we are.
That's a fact. And again, there's a reason everybody that we brought on has stayed with us, because I think, like George said, we've created a good environment. It's a good place to work. And then secondarily, we're steady. We're solid. Like you don't have to worry from day to day. And I think in this industry, that's appreciated by a lot of people. So I don't want to pat ourselves on the back anymore. I feel like we've done plenty of that. But yeah, I just don't want anybody out there, subscriber, considering being a subscriber. Nothing changes. We're going to keep rolling. And if anything does change, we're adding things. We'll be a better site, 6 months from now than we were today.
And I think hearing from Shannon too yesterday, it certainly feels like from a national perspective, that's where a lot of changes are happening in terms of like the recruiting side and what that looks like.
I mean, like I think you're gonna see like Chad Simmons and Steve Wiltfong. Now they'll be under the Rivals brand, but it's all gonna work together. How that looks, I don't know. We don't know, but Rivals is a great brand. I mean, it's tarnished a little bit, because of being sold so many times, and people maybe not. Anytime that you're part of a global conglomerate, and you're a company like Rivals that, I don't know what their revenues are as a company for a year, but let's say, it's not $1 billion, it's nothing like that. So you don't get a lot of attention. You don't get a lot of resources. And I think On3 now owning Rivals is going to put resources in it that it deserves and make it better. And it's only going to get better for you guys that are SoonerScoop subscribers, because you're going to live between the On3 and the Rivals world. And how that works with multiple websites, that'll all get worked out. I'll say this. We've never been a site that is afraid of competition. So I had a Zoom with Shannon Terry yesterday, and this is the last thing I'll say on it. Just couldn't say enough great things about our site and what we've been doing. We are the Oklahoma site in the On3 ecosystem. There may be some other sites that are a part of it. We have the option, to have a say in that. But I'm not afraid of competition. I think it makes us all better, because you need someone pushing you, and I'm not afraid to be pushed as a company. That's the reason that you guys get so much stuff.
And I wanted to add, because Shannon, I don't know if this was out publicly, but Shannon put it out about 20 minutes ago. For those that don't know, with an On3 membership, you will have access to read Rivals. You can do that. So and that's not no upgrade, no change in payment. So you would just have, it's more content. It's more stuff for you to read, more stuff for you to look at. And, we're not going to be mad about that.
Yeah. Well, and I can't tell you guys what to do on the message boards, but take it easy on people. I mean, let's not start wars and stuff like that. It's just, I know it's going to happen, but just troublemakers.
What are we going to do?
Yeah, just troublemakers.
Yeah, I don't endorse that. You just start the wars you need to start. That's okay. We'll start a fire.
Eddie likes fire.
Yeah, Eddie. See, I need Eddie here. Eddie, I need another.
This is probably a good day to not have Eddie here.
We'll get his takes next week. But right now, we can't see what the future holds.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? If you had better vision, maybe you could, George.
Stuff we don't know.
I think if I had better vision, maybe I could. Maybe I need to look into getting LASIK like Eddie does. Eddie saw this coming from a mile away. He probably knew years ago. But let me tell you guys about our friends over at Enjoy Vision. The world may seem a little uncertain to Sooner fans, but one thing is clear. LASIK at Enjoy Vision brings life into focus. Right now, you can save $1,000 on LASIK and enjoy the freedom of life without glasses or contact lenses. You don't want to miss life's perfect moments or a game's perfect plays, and with LASIK, you won't. Schedule your free consultation at enjoyvision.com to save $1,000 on LASIK and start feeling good all around you. Enjoy Vision. This is where SoonerScoop LASIKs.
All right. Also, Josh, you mentioned it earlier, but you have now become a proud Cody Drug RX customer. And let me tell you, now, Jer'Michael Carter might have to mess with Schmitty in the summertime, but you don't, to get in better shape or to feel your best. If you're looking for more energy, better focus, or just want to stay ahead of the game, check out NAD Plus injections from Cody Drug. This is the next big thing. Tons of Hollywood celebrities are doing it, talking about it all over social media. But you don't have to run off to LA in the middle of the night to feel better. It's quick. It's easy. Just head to CodyDrugRx.com. That's CodyDrugRx.com. Book a short telehealth visit, and your NAD plus injection or nasal spray ships out the very next business day. Cody Drug custom compounds everything in their state-of-the-art sterile lab, including specialized medications for men's health, weight loss, anti-aging, and more. And they love working with Oklahoma med spas and clinics. So if you're in the healthcare business, they're ready to team up. Again, that's CodyDrugRx.com. Feel better, faster, without the stadium steps. And that coming from our good friend Will Douglas, huge Sooner fan, NIL supporter. And I'm taking the Chill Mag right now. It's magnesium. It helps me sleep a little better.
Nice. You need that. You don't sleep enough.
That's fact. I wish we could truly, like, we should chronicle it for people at home. Like, you should, like, have to message us as you're falling asleep and when you wake up, Carey. Like, that would be truly worth tracking.
You want those 3 hours to know?
I don't think I even realize how little you get. Yeah.
George will tell you I've kind of taken to naps after the show, after the morning show, which helps me stay up at the office till 9 o'clock, so that's good. More like 8-ish. Well, with the playoffs on, I try and get home to at least see the second game. So anyway, transfer portal, we talked about Jer'Michael Carter. He was officially recognized by OU today, I believe, you said?
Yes, they officially announced the addition of Jer'Michael Carter, wide receiver from McNeese, 37 receptions, 537 yards, 3 touchdowns last year at McNeese, 6'4", 192. I think a pretty good addition. I don't know how much he'll play next year. I think that Oklahoma is just trying to load up on bodies, and you look at what happened last year at wide receiver, and it makes sense. And
they don't want it to happen again.
I've got 2 stats for you guys. I wrote a story on SoonerScoop.com today. You can go check it out for $1. But in my story, I had these 2 stats. The 6 receivers OU lost following the season combined for 41 receptions, 690 yards in 2024. The 5 guys that they added in the portal combined last year for 205 receptions, 3,145 yards in 2024. So, and I know some of that's, they had a ton of injuries and all of that, but I think it's pretty clear Oklahoma was looking for production. The second stat, OU also added some significant size to the room. The average height of the 6 receivers who transferred last year were 6 feet tall. The average height of the 7 receivers, so the 5 transfers plus the 2 freshmen, is nearly 6 feet 2 inches. So,
2 inches taller, yeah.
Almost 2 inches taller. And so I think it was pretty clear what OU was looking for is guys that were productive, even if it was at a lower or smaller school, FCS or Division I, and as well as the height thing and the size.
Like you said, I don't know what Jer'Michael Carter's really going to add to this receiving core other than depth. I mean, you and Josh did the Porter Report yesterday, and I put the title on it as wide receiver insurance. And I think to an extent that's the baseline for him, but maybe he does surprise. I mean, he's going to have to do a lot of work with John Mateer in summer, voluntary workouts, 7-on-7, routes on air, all that stuff. Because, I mean, we've seen some of the video. We saw that video with Giovanni Gibson and I think it was Deion Burks, right, when he was going down to the Houston Rodeo. And, like, the routes that they throw and that he throws, like, he's throwing that ball so much earlier than they're getting into their breaks. Like, you have to be very precise. And you have to get to know those routes. And John Mateer has to know where you're going to be when he releases that football. So there's a lot of work that has to go into getting Jer'Michael Carter hooked up and synced up. And even, I'm trying to think, is there anyone else that didn't arrive that's coming in?
I don't think so.
Okay, so he's had some time with everybody.
Yeah.
But, that goes to, like, even a young guy. I mean, one guy we didn't talk about much at all this spring, and I think it's just because we didn't see a whole lot. But I really don't know what to expect out of Josiah Martin. He doesn't really jump off the page.
It's kind of smaller.
Yeah, he's smaller. He's young. He's skinny. I mean, he's a sophomore. But I think he's a guy, and he's 5'11". I mean,
he's a speedster, though.
Yeah, but I think he's a guy that could be. Yeah, Satania's got speed. and he was banged up.
Carter, I think I don't know, Josh. I don't know if you've watched Carter's tape, but I think he's got some speed, doesn't he?
He brings. He definitely has some of that again, and I've watched kind of a smattering of stuff, like because again, it's hard to find a lot to go over, but there's definitely been some. But yeah, I mean, it's not hard to figure what they like. I mean, the length, the size. Again, he does have some vertical speed, and I think people see the height. And I'm like, I mean, he's pushing 200 pounds. Like, he's not like a little guy. He's not just like, tall and lean. Like, he's a big kid. So, kind of reminds me of Manny Choice in that way. Like, Manny, you're just like, God, he's big.
He's
like,
so
he
big.
hasn't filled out yet, but he's huge.
Yeah, Manny Choice is almost awkwardly tall amongst that other receiving core because he's just, and he doesn't look awkward. I'm not saying he moves awkwardly. He's just so big. Like, his shoulder pads are, sitting so high up compared to everybody else. It's striking seeing him out there just with the group for the first time.
They have 5 receivers on roster right now with the addition of Carter that are over 6 feet 2 inches tall.
And they needed that. I mean,
Yeah.
Look, the Zion Reagan's thing, I mean, he's got lots of speed, but he really has to be open. Like, there were no contested catches from him last year. And really, all those guys. I mean, just way too many 6-foot guys.
And I think, you look at the guys that they lost last year. I think all of those guys are good receivers. I mean, Nick Anderson, when he's healthy, he's a great receiver. Jalil Farouk, really good. Andrell Anthony was spectacular before his injury. I think from Oklahoma's perspective, they couldn't bet on those guys. Those guys wanted a change of scenery. And so OU went out and got guys that produced at a high level last year, are big-bodied guys, and the reality is they added 7 new wide receivers. They really only need like 2 of those guys to pan out, right? Like, when you think about it, like they have some guys coming back. Obviously, Deion Burks is going to be a huge part of the offense, but like, you look at the history of Ben Arbuckle and his offense, he usually has about 3 to 4 wide receivers who really light it up.
Yeah, they get most of the stats.
Yeah, like I have a stat in this story too, that he's had 2 1,000-plus yard receivers in his 3 years calling plays and 7 800-plus yard receivers in his 3 years. Oklahoma hasn't had a 1,000-yard receiver since Marvin Mims, and they haven't had 2 receivers over 800 yards receiving since 2018 in the same season. And that was CeeDee Lamb and Hollywood Brown.
I mean, you want to hope that Elijah Thomas can break out early, but, that only happens in, so few instances. I mean,
if Elijah Thomas gives
Ryan
you like
Williams, and then what's his name from Ohio State last year?
Jeremiah Smith.
Jeremiah Smith. Like, that doesn't happen very often.
Marvin Mims was really good his freshman year at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But like, if Elijah Thomas gives you 400 yards and a couple touchdowns next year as a true freshman, I would say that's a great success. OU had 1 receiver over 300 yards last year. J.J. Hester.
You say all this, but then we hear like Arbuckle is pretty enamored with getting Deion Burks and Isaiah Satania on the field at the same time. 2 smaller guys, but speedy guys.
Yeah, and I think some of it will, Arbuckle's going to have to adjust. They didn't add a tight end to the portal, which I don't know if they're going to. I don't even know if there's any out there right now. So I think you're going to see, maybe some 4 or 5 wide receiver sets, and if that's the case, then you can play Satania and Burks at the same time, and they're not the biggest guys, but I think both of them
if you can get separation
open.
And and be in the right place at the right time. I mean, both those guys have played a lot of football, so you would think that they would be able to help Mateer execute an
I just
offense.
think you look last year, and it was because of injuries, but there were games last year where OU was running out Jacob Jordan, Zion Raggins, and Deion Burks or whoever, and it was like no one even is 6 foot that's out there playing receiver for Oklahoma right now.
Well, and that's go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
I just have a quick note. George is talking about what's available in the tight end in the portal. So I'm like, well, let me look. Let's see what's out there. Would you guys like to wager a guess at who the top-ranked tight end available in the portal at the moment is?
Oh man,
Devon Mitchell probably.
That's exactly who we're talking about. So that paints a picture of what's out there.
When Pete Nakos, I saw he did he has his intel story.
That Louisville stuff?
Yeah, about Devon Mitchell.
God, that was like, man.
I mean, Louisville's thinking about passing on him, basically.
Well, he said he has to they need to get a physical to see what kind of shape he's in? And
yeah,
stuff?
it's like they're and if he would be a problem in the locker room, and I don't know. Tough.
They've obviously gotten some honest feedback from someone.
Yeah.
And that would have to be someone from Oklahoma.
George, I guess, and again, I don't want to crap on the kid, but that wasn't the vibe I got. I just got that he wasn't doing the work. It was more my impression.
Yeah, I think that it was definitely an effort thing, but it was clear he was out of shape to an extent. I think he would pass a physical.
Well, I mean, some of the things, the most things that he was not showing up for were workouts. So, I mean, that would lend credence to the out of shape thing.
I just meant I didn't want to make it present it he was a locker room.
Oh yeah, no. I don't.
I didn't have that vibe at all.
Yeah, no, I don't think he was having issues off the field in terms of being a bad guy. I think he just wasn't showing up to team functions.
Yeah, and his teammates were like, "What the hell?
Yes,
why can't you ever show up for stuff?" So yeah, but that is crazy that he's the top tight end in the pool, which probably shows you Jim Nagy should just be able to make up that list so he could put him way down, because I don't know how many other tight ends are there. Is there anyone from even a Power 5?
There was a kid that entered the other day that I think was at Kansas last year, or maybe he was at, I can't remember if he was at Kansas last year or Arizona.
It was Kansas.
Yeah, and he was at Arizona before that.
Okay.
And he was kind of productive for them, but I don't think he's much of a blocker. I don't think he played much for Kansas last year. So, yeah. OU missed the two guys that OU wanted in the portal at tight end were Jack Indrez, who ended up obviously at Texas for a boatload of money, and then they shifted to Lance Mason at Missouri State. And I think that they thought they were going to get him, and obviously that did not happen and ended up going to Wisconsin.
Which, that just, it doesn't show you, but it tells you that the reputation is preceding itself about OU and tight ends right now.
The
there's not a lot of
guy in the portal, Bauer Sharp.
Wait, Bauer Sharp's in the portal?
No.
No. I mean, in the entire rankings, of the guys that were available from beginning to end. There's just not. There's not many guys that can play that position at a high level. They're hard to come by.
I hate to say it, but I think Carey was right about. And we all kind of said this, but I think Oklahoma would still like to have Bauer Sharp.
Oh, I got destroyed for that.
I don't think there's even a doubt. If I wonder their ability to be honest with themselves if they don't feel that way. I don't know how they're looking at what they've got and they're like, well, we don't want that guy that's huge and can run.
I'll say this, and I've said it again. He got put in terrible situations, but as just a baseline athlete, he's a good player. Just stop making him throw double reverse passes.
Well, and Carey, we go back to when Oklahoma football had terrible years like they did last year. That went forgotten. People thought that couldn't happen anymore. And when you have years like that, even in the 2010s when the defenses were terrible, but the offenses kind of made up for it, there always ends up being one guy that's the scapegoat of all the problems. This is the guy, fair or not, he's going to wear all of it. Well, with the quarterbacks going back and forth and the offensive line not being good, it felt like every pointed moment somehow ended up in Bauer Sharp's lap. Obviously the LSU moment was just one that people will never forget. And again, it's a terrible play. I'm not trying to say he did the right thing there and is getting unfair blame, but he was being asked to carry way too much of the load of a piss poor offense. Let's just be honest about what it was.
Josh,
I think people focus on him.
Josh, is there any way that CJ Nixon could come in and play tight end?
I am shocked that has not become a more prevalent part of the conversation. He is easily, and I mean easily, more talented than anybody else they'll have at tight end. And I don't even think it's close.
Do you think he could be physically ready?
That he'd have to be a flex guy. He's not going to be. He can't win at the edge. It would be very much like Bauer Sharp trying to block those South Carolina defensive ends last year when he just had no business being put in that spot.
Do you get the sense that he is a team first guy? If they went to him and said, "Look, we need you at tight end right now, but eventually, we'll get you to defensive end and give you a shot there? Or is he the kind of guy that's going to come in and he's maybe has people around him? It's like, your future is defensive end. You need to be there.
I think he'd love it because I know Miguel Chavis had to do some work to convince him about being a defensive end. Like that wasn't his overall idea. Because, I mean, guys, this is a guy that grew up dreaming of playing basketball. Like, that was where his head was. And so you get that, the Tony Gonzalez, the Antonio Gates, like that kind of picture, I think, is what he had in his head. I'm going to go catch 80 passes and be an NFL tight end. And I'm not even saying I think that's crazy. C.J. Nixon is a incredibly gifted athlete. I think there's probably more upside at defensive end, but if you were like, okay, pick one, Josh, and he's going to be an all SEC level player, I'd probably pick tight end because he's so big and long and he's got soft hands. He runs very well. Like, there's a lot of boxes that he checks to be a good tight end. I don't think there's any question.
But again, tight end, it's not going to be the end-all, be-all of a Ben Arbuckle offense. I mean, It's good to have him, but like you said, if you have a guy that's not a great blocker, I mean, Jaren Kanak can probably do that for you.
I think Jaren, and we'll see. I mean, I think they'll put his hand in the dirt, but I think he's going to play some H-back too, where he's like in the backfield doing some different stuff.
I don't know his 40, but I'd imagine it's 4.6-ish.
I bet
maybe
he could run in the
4.5.
4.5.
At least. I mean, I would bet. I bet he runs mid 4.5s.
And I think he's got good hands. I've heard he can catch the ball.
I mean, what if he becomes just a bowling ball receiver?
It'd be awesome.
I mean, how about this? The next Cam Skattebo, Jaren Kanak at wide receiver.
That'd be pretty sweet.
God. Carey.
I just need Skattebo in my life.
Cam Skattebo.
You're gonna love the New York Giants. What a crew they got.
Oh, I know.
Jackson Dart and Cam Skattebo.
All my favorite players. Like I was in the Giants' head all of a sudden. I think maybe they're not idiots all of a sudden.
I think people are calling them the exciting whites, is what somebody.
Well, PMT would be doing that. Yes. I do love that meme that they throw out there in a wine store where it says "exciting whites." Anyway, but no, that's my just Joshin' or whatever we're calling it. By the way, editors meeting. Do we need to bring back just Joshin'?
Oh God!
Can we?
I don't know.
Can we? Because the woke is people don't understand it. Like, it was out there before that word got politicized and everything. And now people see that, and you get so much shit online because,
I love it.
I'm only thinking about the company, though. I'm just thinking, bunch of liberals, I'm going to unsubscribe.
Oh, so because of all the shit that happened yesterday, I missed a couple of calls, and I get back to some people last night, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to put up the woke first thing in the morning. And I said it on the board. I was like, oh, it'll be up sun up. And they're like, okay. So I set it for 7. And people's like, it's sun up, and it's not out here. And I'm like, well, guys, it's woke. Clearly, it's on Pacific time. I've been told that makes me a soy boy. I don't know if I've gotten any jokes. I don't know if anybody's laughed about that yet. I think there might be some hostility. But I thought it was pretty damn funny. So,
well, yeah. Yahoo Sports is involved again in On3. So back to those Pacific time timestamps on all our Zooms.
I will say the board has been just absolute gold the last 24 hours. It's been remarkable.
Some of the best stuff that really the best stuff since we moved to On3, because that was a fun dumpster fire, and this is kind of just a fun, I don't know, house grease fire maybe. But yeah,
and I think it's better because we're like, guys, it's going to be fine. We can't tell you a lot, but it's going to be fine. So they can just sink their teeth into the unknown, and just have it be whatever they want it to be.
Yeah, every scenario that could happen when one company acquires another has happened. I mean, every meme of Office Space, everything you can think of. So
lots of AI too.
Oh my God,
the AI.
By the way, I'm fat, but I'm not that fat. All right, I don't have like a chin, like a triple, like an ash for a chin. Come on with that crap. All right,
that one was pretty good.
I'll take the fat, but make me realistically fat, not ridiculously fat.
The best one though is Eddie in Mexico.
It looks a lot like him.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
All right.
With the cigarette. Yeah, that's fantastically.
Holding a SoonerScoop
has Eddie
microphone.
Seen that? Have we confirmed?
Oh, I bet he's been on the board. He's had to have been.
Surely.
I mean, if I'm in Mexico and I've had even just a few beers, I'm on the board.
I absolutely check it when I'm on vacation because I'm just like Eddie. I'm drinking, I'm relaxed, and there's usually some thread that is just destroying me.
We should call him and see if he answers.
I mean, he's pretty much in the same time zone, right?
I think so. Yeah. He was texting me late last night.
Okay.
Eddie could be our Jerry O'Connell of this week.
Oh God. Okay, so we've had so much YouTube stuff. I mean, the portal is closing. We're putting a wrap on that, getting ready for, summer camp season and spring high school football season. I know, SEC coaches meetings are getting ready to happen later this month. You're going to be out there.
Yeah, end of May, the last week of May. So that should be good because probably we'll get to talk to Brent for the first time since the Crimson Combine, which there's a lot to cover there. I don't even know. I wonder if Jim Nagy goes to that.
That's a good question. I doubt it, maybe.
I don't think so. But that should be good to get out there, talk to him. I think Joe C., Porter Moser, and Jenny Baranczyk will all be out there.
How's Porter Moser just not held a statewide press conference at this point?
I don't know. He's crushing it. I mean, there's been so much talk about obviously Jim Nagy and the job he's done for football, but man, Porter Moser has just been crushing the portal.
Porter, you're welcome to just come on by and we'll just put a microphone and a camera in front of you and you can just crow. You can just tell people to eat shit.
I will be here. He can just talk shit to me for 30 minutes.
Look, we all were culpable. We
called for his job in February.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I don't think we were wrong.
It was after the LSU loss.
He's done a hell of a job.
I mean, that LSU loss happened, and everybody wanted him gone, even us. It was like, it's time. I mean, probably, and look, he's got to go out there and win next year, but off-season wise, maybe the biggest rebound that I've ever witnessed from a coach.
Yeah.
Guys, I put it in the group chat the other day. There's a very real chance that he's going to land more top 100 players between the portal and recruiting than Oklahoma football will this year. That's crazy.
Well, and look, I'm not one of these that's willing to sit here and say, "Oh, Trae Young paid for it all." I bet he definitely he publicly announced $1 million.
Yeah, he helped. I think that,
but I think he rallied people and donors to support.
Definitely, there's been more donor support. I also think from the university, the bill that the state passed a few months ago was a pretty big deal that allowed the university, the athletic department, to give money to the collective that can then give money to the players. I think that played a role. I think Oklahoma was very motivated to give Porter the resources to go out and get some of these guys, and because all the guys they added in the portal, not a single one of them was cheap.
No.
At all.
No.
There was no bargain deals that they went out and got. And I've had some questions that they're like, how come football and basketball have all of a sudden had a ton of success in the portal landing these guys? I think it's two different things. I think for football, it's the organization, the vision, clear on who they want to go after. They have a value chart. They know how much they think guys are worth, and they go out and get them. I think basketball just has more money, and they just have more resources than they've had before.
I'll say this, too. I think Jim Nagy had a tremendous amount to do with football because, let's face it, people that had money that could give it, you have to be, like you said, you have to be motivated to give. And just having Brent Venables going out there and making the decisions, I don't think there's a lot of confidence in him right now based on coming off of a 6-7 season. So having somebody like Jim Nagy come in that has the background, that has the experience, that has the reputation that he has, when he speaks and says, we can win with this guy if we just pay for it, that opens up more pocketbooks, I think, right now. Look, Brent wins this year. I'm sure he'll be the first out there, and he'll probably raise more money for NIL if they're allowed to do it that way moving forward than he ever has. But the reality is he just has to win, and the confidence in him is not very high with the majority of the fan base and probably even some of the money people.
But having said that, Carey, what amazes me, and again, I'm impressed both with the fans and Brent himself. They want to believe. Like, I don't feel like the fans at large are like, we want Brent gone. Like, they want this to work.
No,
like,
that's
not
changed. It's changed since.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, from the time that when Porter was losing to like LSU, that made people pile on to Brent even more, I think. And and then obviously Joe C. But everybody was piling on everybody, just wanting to clean house of the revenue-generating sports. And I think Porter doing so well in the portal and OU actually going out and getting Jaden Ott and getting guys that they seemingly wanted from the beginning and to strike quickly, like that's what's turned the fans to like, okay, this might work. I'm going to stop being miserable and I feel like something good is getting ready to happen. And I think the Mateer and Arbuckle thing, people getting to see them, I think is raised. Basically, you're an idiot if you go out there and see those guys throw it around and say this is not going to be bad.
And I think it's also, I think somewhat the national media has started recognizing a little bit. I mean, they're starting to become a little bit of a buzz that Oklahoma's like a sleeper team to watch. Next season, and I think that's got some fans' attention. But
we
I
probably
think
need to call up Andy Staples because he was very complimentary of Oklahoma, but then he didn't include him in his too early top 25.
I heard Feinbaum the other day, and I'm going on Feinbaum later today, but he said,
brag.
Yeah, of course.
Llévate más de lo que esperas todos los días con el nuevo McValue en McDonald's. Ahora puedes comprar uno y sumarle otro por $1. Así que cuando tu equipo favorito enfrente a sus rivales, enfrenta tus antojos con $5 Meal Deals. Y si estás corriendo para alcanzar el desayuno, corre al app para llevarte ofertas antes del cutoff. Tú decides, y con McValue, tu decisión siempre rinde más. Precios y participación pueden variar. BOGO $1 válido para un producto de igual o menor valor. Debe estar registrado en Rewards para ofertas en el app.
Earlier this week that Oklahoma is a sneaky playoff team. And so, I mean,
I think even SEC Mike had him ranked 6th in the SEC.
Yeah, so I mean, and I think what happened was in January, from the end of since the moment they lost the Armed Forces Bowl to the moment they hired Jim Nagy, there was a lot of bad, right? Like they lost a ton of guys in the portal. They added some dudes from Kennesaw State who may or may not be good, but people, just look at the name of the school. Porter Moser started. The basketball team was losing. Yeah, they didn't get Jim Knowles. All this shit hit the fan, and it was just everything was bad. And now it's like the great Danny Slagle tweeted the other day. Everything is great at OU athletics right now, except for the tight end room. That was a golden tweet.
It's absolutely true.
Everything is positive. I mean, even the softball team looks like they're
just swept Texas.
Yeah, they look like
people thought Texas was going to come in and win that series.
Baseball. I know
they're number 1 again.
Yeah, baseball. I know they lost the series at Georgia, but they're playing pretty
good
well.
Series,
right? So football's winning in the portal, basketball's winning in the portal. There's a lot of good going on right now. But it'll all come crashing down in week 2 when OU loses to Michigan or something.
Well, I mean, let's face it. If David Stone had not returned from the portal,
that was bad.
A lot of those
48
people
hours
would have shifted back to everything's screwed.
Yeah, it can change very quickly.
It's a fragile fan base right now, but right now it's trending positively. All right, Josh. Recruiting-wise, we've done a recruiting report this week, and there's not a ton going on, but I know you had woke up this morning. I read through that, or just Joshin, if you will. So just break it down for us. I know you started out with the defensive end position and some activity that's starting to circulate a little bit within the Oklahoma borders.
Yeah, there is that's been interesting to me because I think, and we've talked about this in recruiting reports, talked about this on the pod. If there's any position where I think Oklahoma's hierarchy is very, very clear, it's a defensive end. I think KJ Ford at Duncanville in the Dallas area and Jake Krull from IMG Academy, which obviously David Stone, Jaden Jackson, you get on the list. OU's recruited IMG for more than a decade now. Those are their 2 top guys. That's who they've wanted. And over the last week or two, I'd seen them make some new offers. There's a kid named Lafayette from Florida. They've offered a couple of kids from Pennsylvania, including one that was just yesterday. And I kind of thought, okay, like is stuff starting to get away from them here? Is this a reaction to, things not moving in the right direction? But talking to a few sources, talking to people, guys, I think OU leads for both those guys right now. I think Miguel Chavis continues to be just an outstanding recruiter. He just is. Like, I mean, you look at we talk a lot about Todd Bates and the way that defensive tackle room has been rebuilt. Look at the defensive end group. Like, R. Mason Thomas finally kind of had that year to say, okay, it's not just, he's a great recruiter. He's developing these guys. R. Mason Thomas is a much better player than, what he came in as, or however you want to look at that. So for Oklahoma to be in this shape with KJ Ford, who Oklahoma's basically battling Alabama for. Like, I mean, I think Alabama really wants him. They're pushing for him. So that's not going to be easy. I'm not saying they're over the finish line. And Jake Krull is Texas. I mean, you go down the list, like all the heavy hitters are right there for Jake Krull. So these are two premier guys, and I think Oklahoma's in good shape. What I think is happening with some of these offers is Oklahoma being smart and saying, okay, if down the road we don't, things start trending in the wrong direction, we are not trying to pivot 2 months from now. We're not trying to figure out what we can do when it's way too late. We're going to have relationships. We're going to be comfortable. They may even bring these guys in for official visits, and maybe they like a guy enough to say, okay, this is going to be a 3-man defensive end class. Like, we're going to change the numbers up a little bit. I think it's just them being flexible. And guys, and Carey, we've talked about this forever. George, you've listened to me about this for long enough now. In recruiting, that's half the job, is just being able to pivot when you know you need to.
It would have been a nice feather in Miguel's cap if Ethan Downs would have got drafted this past weekend. I think Ethan got screwed on that deal. But, Josh, I did want to ask you, how many you think they're just going to try and add 2 defensive ends like in this class, or is it a situation where they would maybe add a third if they were to get both Ford and Krull?
Yeah, I think, obviously if it's Ford and Krull, I wonder. Like, I think it would probably just be 2 because, I mean, obviously you look at their numbers now. You've got R. Mason Thomas and Marvin Jones Jr. on their way out. Maybe PJ has an unbelievable year and shocks us all and he leaves early, but that seems unlikely based on what we know. And everybody else, again, Taylor Wine, well, let's not forget the redshirt sophomore possibility. But there's really not a lot there that you would say, okay, maybe they lose somebody to the draft or something like that. So I would think it's going to be 2, but if they really like one of these guys, and it's kind of an interesting dynamic. I talked about the Lafayette kid from Florida. He's more of an R. Mason type, 6'1", 240, but I can't remember if it's 16.5 or 17.5 sacks, but he had, either one of those numbers, he had a huge junior year. And so he's highly productive. I mentioned the 2 kids from Pennsylvania. They're more like 6'3", 245, 250, 6'4", 240 type guys. And they're bigger, longer guys. So I think it's a matter of kind of what OU is prioritizing. If they felt like maybe they're going to, again, maybe 2-3 months from now, they see a young guy that like, okay, that guy might be headed for the portal come December. Okay, we've got a spot here, we're ready to kind of fill it. So, I think it's just good planning, but I think 2 is the plan with the ability to move to 3 kind of depending on what the future looks like.
Josh, you want to also talk about Samaj Stanford making the move from Jinx to BA. That's pretty big news in the state.
Yeah, George, you're a Tulsa guy. That's not done lightly. Talking to people, kind of on both sides. I think this is just one of those deals where he goes to Broken Arrow. He's going to be the guy, and Samaj talked about, having a good relationship with that coaching staff. And, he knows guys like Jay Wilkinson was Jinx's offensive coordinator last year. He's gone over to Broken Arrow. For those that don't know, Broken Arrow is now under Travis Hill, who's been at Muskogee, who's won a state title at East Central, which is, if you followed high school football in Oklahoma, that's a statement of what you are as a head coach to be able to do it at a place like that. East Central's a tough place to win. And so I think it's a sign of Broken Arrow kind of getting back on their feet. Like it's the biggest school in the state. They should be very good every year. And for a while they were, and then over the last couple of years it had kind of fallen off, and I think they're starting to get that right. That's a place that over the last couple of years I hadn't gone by. I hadn't visited much. I hadn't seen them because they just didn't have the guys I was used to them having, and I needed to get to see Owasso and Bixby and Jinx and all the other big times programs in the Tulsa area. But with Samaj over there, and he's going to go through spring practice at BA, I'll be over there to see him. And what I think is interesting is in talking to him, and we'll have some more on this in a story I'm going to do on him, maybe a little bit in the scoop as well. His relationship with Brandon Hall is really important. But when I asked him, I was kind of like, what if you were going to pick Oklahoma? Like, what's the thing that would sell you on Oklahoma? Like, what would be the reason as you see it? And I mean, without even a hesitation, he said Brent Venables. He goes, I love that, being a defensive back and knowing the way I want to play football and seeing a guy like Brent Venables and the way he coaches it and being a defensive-minded guy. I love that. I love the whole attitude. I love the way he coaches and, him calling plays now. And he's been great everywhere he's been. I mean, he kind of ran down the stuff. And I was kind of thinking maybe OU had slipped a little bit for Samaj, but the way he talked about Brent Venables, the way he talked about Brandon Hall and kind of that relationship, I think Oklahoma's in really good shape. And Samaj Stanford is probably a top 5 guy in Oklahoma in 2027. I mean, I haven't laid out the rankings in full yet, but if you're top 10 in the state of Oklahoma next year, you are a really, really good football player. In some years, you'd be number 1. In Woke today, I had some comments that I've gotten from some high school coaches about Cooper Hackett, the guy that's easily the favorite to be number 1. And he's going to be real hard to knock off. The coaches talk about him like he's just a different animal.
Do we know if Bo Bentley's having a spring football?
He is, and I actually got their practice schedule yesterday, so we will 100% be by Celina here at some point and go see them and talk to Bo if
I definitely want to go down there
assuming he's
with
up
you.
for it.
Yeah, I want to go check that kid out.
So it'll be, honestly, it's crazy to think about. As long as I've been doing this, I've never been to Celina before. I've never been to a game. I've never even covered a Celina game watching another school's player.
Sounds
so
like
for
you
them
haven't been
to
doing
be,
your job.
Texas royalty. Yeah, it's slacking, George. That's exactly what it is. So, but no, I'm anxious to see him. Everybody that I talk to, everybody that I respect, in the business and coaches, and I mean, they just rave about the kid. So I'm very intrigued to see him and kind of get a feel for what he's like, both as a player and just getting to talk to him a little bit.
Did you see they during the show, actually, they offered a 2028 quarterback? I think it's the first quarterback offer in that class.
It is, and interesting little side note, and I was like, that name rings a bell. Why does that ring a bell? It's Ty Simpson's little brother, the guy who's kind of the favorite to be the starting quarterback at Alabama. So his name's Graham Simpson, another Tennessee kid. His dad, obviously he and Ty's dad is the head coach at UT Martin. So
I'm pretty sure Ty Simpson was throwing the same day that Brock Vandagriff got his offer from Lincoln Riley back then. I think he was at that same camp.
I think that's right, Carey. Oh God, wow, that's a way back thing. Brock Vandagriff is a part of several singular memories for me. But yeah, again, and I won't say like I know a lot about his recruiting situation, but I mean, he's got Ole Miss. He's got some good offers early on, especially for a kid so young. But I was looking at a video of him a little while ago. I think he's got, like, as a sophomore, had almost like 5,000 yards passing, 1 interception, like 14-1, led him to a state title. I mean, he's clearly very, very good. But I'll be, I don't know. This is where we're going to learn. Like, how is Ben Arbuckle going to treat quarterback recruiting? Is it going to be like Lincoln Riley, where it's one guy, and until we know we're not getting that guy, we're going to stick with that dude? Or is it, okay, we're going to work on 2 or 3 guys, and we'll kind of let whatever's going to happen work itself out. We don't know yet. I mean, because obviously the Bo Bentley, Jaden O'Neal situation is interesting to say the least. And then in 27, he's kind of stuck with the guy that they were pretty heavy on beginning with Peyton Houston from Louisiana. So it looks like he's going to be kind of a one quarterback guy, but we'll see. I mean, it'd be pretty aggressive to be like, I'm going to be on the little brother of Alabama starting quarterback, and that's going to be my guy until he says no. You think you'd want to leave a door open or two before that.
Seems like Ty Simpson would set a record for quarterback that sat the longest and became a starter in this day and age.
Coming into the spring, I thought he was going to transfer. I thought the Austin Mack kid that followed them from Washington would either take it, or the Keelan Russell kid that is just an absolute freak show that they signed from Duncanville that I think could be just a superstar. I thought one of those guys would just kind of slowly shove him out the door, but from what you hear from people around Alabama, if they started a game today, he'd be the starter.
It looks like Graham Simpson was just offered by North Carolina and the great Jordan Hudson. Nobody knows.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Is she making the offers now? Are we confident about that?
Wouldn't it be something if recruits that when they get offered by North Carolina started tagging her instead of Bill Belichick? That would be awesome.
She signs the offers instead of him, it's her name on the bottom.
She should do a thing
That's
where
what's next.
she takes off a piece of clothing every time that they, graduate and send the picture. Yeah. I mean, you want to come on an unofficial visit? Here's my cooter.
Is that the first Cooter reference in unofficial 40 history?
And it didn't come from Eddie.
Actually, official visits would have to be Cooter material.
That's
I think
50-1.
Eddie would never use the word
games
Cooter.
You're playing. If you were waiting on Cooter to hit, you need to finish whatever it is.
Eddie's not
drinking.
country enough to use the word Cooter.
That's true.
It would be a
I can see Eddie's what the hell is that?
Yeah.
It would come from somebody from Duncan.
I'm fine with that. You're not hurting me with your words. Anyway, anything else we want to hit on recruiting for you? We invited Bob to come on the podcast to talk softball, but apparently Kia is making him put together his car piece by piece. I don't know what dealership he's gone to, but I'd probably pick another one. He's trying to buy a new car.
I think it's amazing that they've built their own assembly line in the back of the showroom. That's amazing that he just gets to do it.
Think
piece
they
by
yell
piece.
at Pearl, get the tires on faster.
It's a giant Lego.
We're gonna get in trouble for this. Anyway, anything recruiting wise that you wanted to hit before we get out of here? That we haven't discussed.
Like I said, I think we've covered. We're about to get into it. I've got some spring practices over the next week or two that I'll start hitting. Texas is really kind of they've been going for about a week, and a lot of it's pads going out and no pad practice and stuff. I can go to those, but I really try not to if I can avoid it. So we'll start having some of that, and then we'll get into the Oklahoma tour, where I've got a bunch of programs already set up. I'll be pretty much running from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. most days. So it'll be a good few weeks. And like we covered early, nothing changing. I'll be around.
Josh, when the hell are they going to get another commitment?
I don't have a good answer, because again, the guy that I really thought was trending that way a month ago, now I don't think he's even going to end up in Oklahoma's class, and Mason James. I don't think that's happening.
Interesting.
Because and again, that's something I'm kind of dropping, and then I'll have some more in scoop on that. I've been trying to get a little bit more and a few answers out of some people, and it's I think that this is what you're seeing, guys. We knew when, Jim Nagy and Taylor Redd and the staff came in, they were going to take a look at stuff, and they were going to say, hey, this is where we see this is what we should be focused on at this position. And they were going to have their say And I think you're seeing that. And I think everybody's figuring out the ground. Like, what is it going to look like? Who is making the calls on this stuff? And I think inside they pretty much know. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like there's a lot of, bickering or it's not that. It's just, I think everybody's kind of figuring out how to, working together and coming to these terms or coming to who they want to focus on together rather than like the wide receiver coach makes this call or the offensive line coach makes this call. Like it's several people having a conversation.
All right. I think that's it for today. By the way, shout out to Al Ashbeck celebrating his 80th birthday.
Legend. Absolute legend.
It's a legend. Be nice to him on the boards, people. He reads that stuff.
He definitely does, because I hear him on the radio sometimes talk about what he saw on SoonerScoop. So,
and we also hear Blaine.
Loyal subscriber.
We also hear Blaine telling Traver everything that we say on the message boards too. Blaine.
Who's that? I don't know that person.
Yeah,
you don't need to know
their existence.
It's only a local thing. Anyway, no, I appreciate everybody listening. And again, reiterate, nothing's changed at SoonerScoop. Same thing we've always been. And we'll see where everything goes. But Josh is sticking around. We're not shipping him off to a different website. Nothing like that. It's business as usual. And we'll let you guys know things as they come along. And like I said, follow Shannon Terry on Twitter. He's putting updates there as it comes out. And all this stuff moves really quickly and really slowly all at the same time. So thanks for listening. We'll see you guys back here next week with a very tan Eddie Radosevich, although you won't be able to see it because we're not on YouTube. Thank you, and we'll be back next week for another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast right here on SoonerScoop.com.